Happy Sundays with Cinnamon.
Hi, everyone.
So, today we're going to speak about something that we have not spoken about, or I don't believe we have, unless
And
I've
I'm
missed it.
shocked.
I know, because it's,
Totally shocked.
I am too. I am. And the topic is forgiveness. And actually, Yonda had asked me to speak about this a couple of weeks ago, someone who's in the Facebook community, and you will be speaking to later. So, anyway, I just thought of that. That's fun. You're going to be saying something to her.
So odd because it's what I know my contract was for.
Yes.
To come in here to be a representative and an example of forgiveness.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have a beautiful story about when I experienced forgiveness in an overwhelming way. And I say that on the high end, overwhelming. I allowed myself to be overwhelmed with forgiveness. And I came from a background of incest and physical abuse and that which the world seems full of now. In 40 years ago, or 50 years ago, my God, how old am I? 50 years ago, you didn't talk about such things. I had to look up the word incest. I did not even know what life was about enough to identify all this stuff that was attached to unforgiveness for me. So I was brought up by a father who was overtly incestuous, a mother who was latently incestuous with my brother. And I say latent because I have no evidence that she ever acted out, just I with my father. Although she was so controlling and obsessed by him that when I was 10 years old, I remember asking her why did she love my brother more than she loved me, and she just looked at it with such sincerity and said, because he needs me and you are strong, you don't need me. Now my brother was 15 months older than I am, and it didn't compute, and I just, your parent tells you something, and as fearful as I was of parents, I accepted anything they said and did anyway. So we're going to leap forward in time. I married the first man who asked me because that's how little I thought of myself, and I'm not sorry that I did. It's just that, well, I better get married because who else is going to ask me? Because I grew up on words like slut and things that made me realize that I was nothing, because the perpetrator usually wants to relieve themselves of the guilt and the responsibility, so they help you to understand that you're the reason. If you weren't wearing those baby doll pajamas at 7 years old, well, then I wouldn't do the things I do, nutsy.
And how many years
Nutsy.
were you in this?
16.
16 years.
Till I ran away. So, anyway.
And you were threatened to be killed if you ran away, right?
Oh, many, many times. And that's the beauty. I hope people who are in this position right now will hear me saying that the very thing that you keep yourself in place with fear can be the thing that frees you. For instance, every time he would be with me in that way, he would warn me. If you ever tell, number one, who's going to believe you? I'm your father. I mean, he was my biological father. And number two, if you do, I will find you and that will be it. I will kill you. And so I kept myself in place with that fear for years. And then one day he said it, and I realized that was the key to my freedom. He would either find me and kill me, and it would be over, or he wouldn't, and it would be over. So I really had nothing to lose anymore. And I had been stashing away little bits of money for years, believing that it was possible to run away and yet not. So I managed to have enough for a bus ticket to leave and go to his brother, with whom he hadn't spoken for years because he was an alcoholic and the brother was a very Bible-oriented Christian person. And so that is a story for another day, where I went and how I survived.
I can't believe I still don't know that story.
Well, I will tell it to you.
Okay.
And so now jumping to the forgiveness, the day that I experienced forgiveness, I birthed twins. My first children were twins, and because I had it in my and I had a boy and a girl, and because I had it in my head that you absolutely could love a boy and not a girl, I begged the nurse, because I had a terribly difficult delivery. And they put me out for 3 days. In those days, medicine was not what it is today. And they just put me out for 3 days. They would just shake me and ask me if I was awake, and I'd say yes, and they'd put me out again for 3 days. So I didn't see my children for the first 3 days. And then when I came to, because I was worn out, and that was the doctor's way of helping me to rest and regain my energy. You're looking at me doing this kind of a reaction because it seems so backward, and yet that was, again, 47 years ago. So the nurse says to me, I'm going to bring the babies in. And I said, oh, please, please bring the boy in first. Because I wanted to experience that mother love that everybody talks about, that you feel for this child. And so, okay, it was, no skin off her nose which one she brought in. So I said, just please, please, I really want to see the boy first. So she brings in the baby, and she puts the baby on, and I have love for this child like I had never known. And I was so grateful that I know what it's like to be this loving mother. And so I'm with Kuchiku and the baby and just putting off when you're going to bring me that girl, and then I have to experience myself as the mother who doesn't love. And I was young, I was 20, and I was really more emotionally 16. And so I'm putting off this fear of having to face myself as not being a good mom. So then she says, well, let's change the diaper before I take the baby back to the nursery. And I said, okay, prolonging was fine for me. So right on my stomach, she opens up the diaper to change it. And it's the little girl. For some reason, she just picked up the girl. And in those days,
we know the reason.
Oh yeah, but in those days they didn't put pink hats, blue hats. At least in our hospital in Wisconsin, it was all white. Everything was white. So, what did I know? Until she took that diaper off, and I realized in that moment I forgave my mother. Because I hated my mother more than I hated my father, because I had it that my mother threw me to the wolves and walked away, basically. And I thought that was like Medusa, the most mean-spirited thing that a person could do to a child. And as soon as I saw that this was the girl, and I really knew how, like in my fibers, I loved this child, I realized that my mother was sick, really mentally ill, and I just let go. I just forgave her. I didn't even know. At that time, I had no training, no higher consciousness. I didn't even know what that meant. And so, although I knew what forgiveness was, because it was like such a load. It's like I had a vice around my neck, and I freed myself up. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, when they brought Sage, my son, I was already ready to love, because this was a turning point in my life. And I had a long way to go before I really embraced my total freedom. And that was the biggest chunk of it, though, that unforgiveness. So,
and tell about when you did forgive and was at your father's bedside.
Oh.
Because there's the...
Well, that's when I knew, without a doubt. Because, see, you can forgive people and you never see them for 30 years, which is what occurred. And then you go, bad news travels fast. I found out that my father was in the hospital. They said he was going to die. So I went with my daughter, and I wanted to show him, I wanted him to go in peace. And I wanted to show him that I gained so much from that part of my contract that was 16 years of learning how to live in a treacherous situation, and that it was worth it to me because Bootsy, my daughter, was with me, and
Well, say that one more time for the audience.
what?
I mean, it was worth it. I mean, that's just
Oh, absolutely.
It could
my
sound very
gosh.
cuckoo,
It was so worth it because everything that I gained, he lost. My children, all the things that were so precious in my life, he could have been a part of and created so much joy with.
Well, and you gained what forgiveness is all about.
Yeah. Oh, I gained.
Forgiving the
I gained,
unforgivable.
I gained everything, and so that was just, I call it my PhD in love.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and this is.
So what did you say to him? Because I remember you told me.
I said, I just so want you. At first, we were there for 3 days, and the first 2 days he wouldn't even look at me, because he was under medication and out of it, in a way, and he looked like he was waiting for the other shoe to drop. He looked like he was waiting for me to go after him and say, "You bad boy." And when it didn't occur, I called Bootsy over to his bedside, and he saw her. She looked at the time like I looked when I was her age, and it was like he got it. Oh, this is the daughter, that is the granddaughter, and he seemed to then be willing to believe that I hadn't come there to pound on him, that I truly had come there to help him to set himself free. And that's what I did. I said, I pointed to Bootsy, I said, I have this in my life. I have children, surrogate children. I teach about the validity of being happy, creating happiness in spite of anything that's going on in your life.
And didn't you say if it hadn't been for you?
Oh yeah, I said, had I not started out that way, I wouldn't have the life I have now. So that's what made it all worth it. And so that's the story of forgiveness. And if you sit listening to this and you're saying, yeah, but believe me, it's not worth it. Get your butt out of the way, because what you get for giving up, it's like...
It's not giving them the power and ruin your own life.
Right, and it's like the life is offering you treasure, and no, I'd rather hold on to my trash.
Yeah.
Just do the math on
That's
that one.
good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, because we don't have a lot more time, I just wanted to go with at least 1 or 2 people on the list. So these are people that would like to hear from you.
Oh, Yonda, I want you to hear this and decide what it means for you in your life. You're not letting go of your right-wrong game is what's keeping you from your peace, your continual peace. I mean, you have it in moments because you have a lot of conscious awareness, and you're making exceptions. There's an exception or more that you're saying, yeah, but it doesn't apply to this. It does, honey. Give it up. That's what I have to say to you.
Do you have someone else right now?
And Jennifer, I'm sorry, Laura. Look in the mirror before you put your makeup on and after you take it off, and decide who you see, whatever that means to you. And thank you for being a party to this, because the more you learn about yourself, the greater you are in the world for helping people to see more clearly.
Okay. Thank you. That's all we have time for today. Happy
Yeah.
Sundays with Cinnamon.
Yeah.
And forgive. Don't
Oh,
drink
yeah.
that poison.
Now.
Now. Why wait? And you don't need
Exactly.
time to do it, folks.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.